Good morning. Fortunately, thank you for your graciousness towards me and my wife. It's wonderful to be here. I can think, just starting, I can think about the first time I gave this speech. But I'm honored to deliver my final State of the State address today. I would like to first recognize a few people. First, Speaker of the House, Richard Corcoran. Yeah, if you like a picture. Speaker, I appreciate your commitment to cutting taxes and for fighting to make sure every Florida student can get a great education. Senate President Joe Negron. Mr. President, your focus on Lake Okeechobee and Florida's environment will benefit countless Floridians and visitors for generations. Lieutenant Governor Carlos Lopez Quintero. Carlos, thank you for all you do for our great state and for joining me in the fight for freedom and democracy in Cuba and Venezuela. I also would like to recognize Attorney General Pam Bondi. I spoke to her this morning. She cannot be here today, but Pam has been a true advocate for crime victims and has been a leading voice in our fight against the opioid epidemic, and there's no doubt that her efforts have saved lives. So let's give a big round of applause to Attorney General. Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Petronas. Jimmy, I was proud to appoint you as CFO. And in a very short time, you've done so much to help Florida families. And I want to thank you for all you're doing for Florida firefighters. Thank you, Jimmy. Commissioner of Agriculture, Adam Putnam. Adam, thank you for fighting for Florida's critical agriculture community and all you've done to try to help the citrus industry, especially after Hurricane Irma. So thank you for what you're doing. I want to thank Chief Justice Labarga and members of the Florida Supreme Court. I want to thank each of you for all your service. I would also like to thank my wife, Ann. There's a day that goes by that I'm not thankful for your unwavering support. As First Lady, you have done so much to help Florida families. From visiting schools to promoting literacy and helping find forever homes for kids in foster care. I'm so proud of all that you've done. You took a chance on me 45 years ago, a skinny kid without a penny in his pocket, who talked too fast with only a dream. You believed in me every day since then, including the day I told you I wanted to run for governor. When no one else thought I had a chance, you stood by me. I love you. I also want to recognize my son-in-law, Pierre, and my oldest grandson, August. August either wants to be a paratrooper like his great-grandfather or a police officer when he grows up. And by the way, I love being a grandparent. It's the best job in the world. So. I know how disappointed you all must be that you won't get to hear another great speech like this. So try to hold back the tears. Putting jokes aside, I stand here today at the beginning of my last year as governor, thankful for the opportunity that we have all had to help our beloved state of Florida. I am thankful that in 2010, with the amazing support of my family, the people of Florida gave me the unbelievable opportunity to try to turn the state of Florida around. This has been the most rewarding job. There were naysayers who told us that there was no way that a businessman with no experience in politics or government could possibly be successful at helping turn Florida's economy around. Fortunately for all of us, the naysayers were wrong. When I was in business, I would see politicians come and go, and they would always make promises that they would be business-friendly, cut taxes, and reduce regulation. And usually, it was all just talk. Nothing much ever happened. I have been in business in almost every state, and when I brought up an issue about permits or licensing to government leaders, they would often just repeat their same old promises and reassure me that they would get back with me. Of course, they rarely did. In 2010, when I ran for governor, I promised to change the status quo and create an environment where businesses can succeed and create jobs after jobs for Florida families. The results speak for themselves. Working together, we've created an environment where our private sector has added nearly 1.5 million jobs. Our GDP has grown 26% in 7 years. Our home values have skyrocketed. We've decreased state debt by $9 billion. And our unemployment rate has gone from over 10% to now 3.6%, which is almost a 10-year low and lower than the national average. So those are some great statistics, but this is not about statistics, it's about real people. Like many people, I grew up in poverty, and I can tell you firsthand, having a job is not something anyone should ever take for granted. Florida has experienced the most incredible economic revival because together we've worked hard to cut taxes over 80 times, which has saved Florida families more than $7.5 billion. Working together, we've taken billions of dollars out of government's hand and given it back to Florida families. Like many of you here, this is my last year in this position. This is my last session to cut taxes. And we must acknowledge that unfortunately at some point, there will be politicians sitting in this chamber who are not as fiscally responsible as we are today. I am sure there will be people who hold down our jobs down the road who want to increase taxes, otherwise known as taking more money from hardworking Floridians. Decades ago, Florida voters approved an amendment to the Constitution that prohibited a state income tax. The skeptics warned that bad things would happen. The skeptics were wrong. I want 2018 to be the year that Florida voters pass a constitutional amendment that makes it harder for politicians to raise taxes. My proposal would require 2/3 of the legislature to vote on a tax increase for it to become law. Some have asked if this proposal would be in effect during a financial emergency or another national recession, and my answer is clear: absolutely. It's during times of economic downturn where this proposal is needed the most. It will force leaders to contemplate living within their means rather than taking the easy way out and just sticking it to the public by raising taxes on families and job creators. I ask all of you to join me in this fight. Ensure we do all we can to not let future politicians undo the hard work we have all done to grow Florida's economy and create jobs. We need to secure a strong economy for our children and our grandchildren. I've also put forward a tax cut package this year that will truly benefit every Florida family. Before I took office, everyone who had a driver's license faced a massive fee increase. This year, I want to reduce those fees back to pre-2009 levels by cutting the fee for the renewal of a regular driver's license by more than 58%, from $48 to $20. I want to cut the fee on an original regular driver's license by more than 43%, from $48 to $27, and I want to cut the fee on an original commercial driver's license by more than 10%. My dad was a truck driver, and if he had extra money back in his pocket, in my family, that would have been a big deal. My tax cut proposal also includes sales tax holidays to help families prepare for the school year and for hurricane season. After the storms we experienced last year, we need to have a longer sales tax holiday so people have time to buy the supplies they need, like generators, batteries, and flashlights. My proposal extends the current 1-week sales tax holiday to 3 weeks over a 3-month period to ensure people have ample time to get the goods they need before the start of next hurricane season. I don't think anyone in this room could have predicted the mammoth storm Hurricane Irma would become. There was a portion of our state that was safe from Irma. We saw it shift, turn, and literally cover our entire state. It was like a scene from a bad movie. But Floridians came together. We all faced Hurricane Irma together. As I traveled the state, I heard story after story of families helping one another and communities standing together. The response and solidarity that was shown by our state was one of the proudest moments that I've had as governor. And when I was urging people to get prepared for the storm and to evacuate, many of you in this room helped to raise awareness in your communities. And I want to thank you for doing that. And after the storm, we all showed up. From handing out water to working at food banks, so many Floridians, and many of you in this room, helped your neighbors in need. And I believe Florida has come back even stronger. Florida demonstrated to the entire world how to prepare and respond to a natural disaster. And 2 heroes who helped Florida prepare and respond to Hurricane Irma are with us today. I would like to introduce you to Lauren and Michael Davis from Jacksonville. Lauren and Michael both serve in the Florida National Guard and were deployed along with thousands of our brave National Guard members during the storm. However, their deployment was at a very inconvenient time for the young couple. Their wedding was set in Jacksonville Beach the same week as the hurricane was impacting Florida. So instead of postponing getting married, Lauren and Michael decided to exchange vows in full uniform in front of their fellow guardsmen at the Orange County Convention Center as they prepared for post-storm response. Isn't that great? You see a picture? Lauren and Michael chose to put service before self, a trait we should all strive to have. Lorna Michael, thank you for your sacrifice to protect your fellow Floridians. And please be sure to give all these legislators the details on your wedding registry. Just when we thought we got through Irma, Maria was quickly approaching Puerto Rico. While we are so blessed Florida was spared, sadly our fellow Americans in Puerto Rico were devastated. Like many of you in this room, I've been focused on helping Puerto Rico recover and rebuild. I've had the opportunity to visit Puerto Rico twice following the storm. I saw firsthand the devastation on the island, and I've tried to help the people of Puerto Rico any way I could. We have had hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans come to Florida since Maria, and my goal is that Florida be the most welcoming place for people displaced by Hurricane Maria. We have set up centers to help Puerto Ricans get connected to services and resources. We've made it easier for their students to get enrolled in our schools. We've removed barriers for professional licenses so people can quickly get to work in our state. But there's still more we can do to help Puerto Rico and everybody that's impacted by that storm. This year, I'm proposing $12 million in funding to establish the English Language Learners Academy. This program will focus on reading improvements and making sure students displaced by Hurricane Maria have access to important learning programs. And I ask each of you to support me in making sure we get funding for this important program this year. As we saw throughout this storm, our first responders came to the rescue of many. Not only did our first responders and National Guard do an outstanding job during Hurricanes Irma and Nate right here in Florida, but they came to the rescue of our friends outside of Florida. Following Maria, 50 Florida Highway Patrol members deployed to Puerto Rico to help with the security and traffic control in San Juan. And following Hurricane Harvey in Texas, more than 24 FWC officers helped rescue more than 500 people trapped in flooded areas. While they're not here with us today, please join me in giving these individuals a big round of applause. Our law enforcement have done an incredible job protecting Florida families. And I hope each of you will support my proposed pay raise of $30 million for all state sworn officers this year. I'm also proud to support a measure that is going through the Constitutional Revision Commission to give free tuition to the families of fallen first responders, state law enforcement officers, and military members who have lost their lives in the line of duty. Since I've taken office, unfortunately, 41 officers have tragically killed in our state in the line of duty. These brave men and women died as heroes. It is important that the state does everything possible to take care of the families who lost a loved one who is working to protect each of us and all of our families and all of our communities. Think about it. It's the least we can do. The last thing our military men and women and our first responders need to be thinking about when they go to work every day is, will my family be taken care of if I'm gone? Two of those heroes that died in the line of duty last year are Sergeant Sam Howard and Officer Matthew Baxter. They were senselessly shot while on patrol in Kissimmee. Sergeant Howard's wife and daughter, Billy Jo and Unique, are here today. They're really nice. Officer Baxter's wife, Sadia, is also here and was recently sworn in as a special agent for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Billy, Joe, Unique, and Sadia, we will continue to do all we can to honor both Sam and Matthew. Another critical hero who was tragically killed in the line of duty is Lieutenant Deborah Clayton. She was executed in cold blood, and I have fought hard to ensure that her accused killer is prosecuted to the absolute fullest extent of the law. I will stop at nothing to fully support the families of fallen police officers like Deborah Clayton. That's why last year I removed cases from a prosecutor who refused to seek justice for fallen law enforcement officers. I want to be very clear. In Florida, we have zero tolerance for anyone who attacks Florida law enforcement officers. I will fight to make sure justice is swift and these killers are prosecuted to the full extent of the law. That doesn't stop with law enforcement. We have to take care of all crime victims in our state. No one in Florida who's been a victim of crime should feel ashamed. Victims of crime or harassment deserve to have their voices heard. Last year, I was stunned to hear that state employees who reported incidents of sexual harassment did not have their identities protected in many circumstances. If you were a state employee who was the victim of sexual harassment and you filed a complaint with your agency, your name or other identified information was not always confidential. I have daughters, and learning that there was not a public records exemption for this really bothered me, so I vowed to change the law. With the help of all of you in this chamber, we passed a law to protect state employees who were victims of sexual harassment. Working together, we took a step forward to protect those in state government who were victimized. But let's be clear, more has to be done. Last month, I signed an executive order that outlines the process for sexual harassment training, reporting, investigating, and recovery for victims at all of my agencies. I urge both chambers and all of the cabinet agencies to follow our lead and do the same. I also want to take a step further and encourage the legislature to pass a bill this year that protects state employees who witness their colleagues being harassed or victimized. I want to ensure the identities of these brave individuals are protected so they feel encouraged to participate in investigations. Unfortunately, we have seen this play out all over the country, including Tallahassee. Things have to change. It has to start here. It has to start in this building. The people of Florida deserve much better than what they're reading about in the news. It's very important that we all stand together and send a very strong message. Florida stands with victims. I now want to turn to another serious topic that I believe by working together, we must combat in our state. Like so many families, I've had to watch a loved one struggle with drug abuse. It's hard and it's very painful. When I first took office, I worked with General Bondi and many of you in this chamber to crack down on pill mills. We fought hard to get pill mills off our streets. As we have seen with the national opioid epidemic, our fight against drugs is clearly not over. I would like to introduce you to Sarah Shepard. Sarah is a parent partner at Healthy Start, a nonprofit organization in Daytona Beach that is one of our many state partners in the fight against the opioid epidemic. After overcoming her own addiction 7 years ago, Sarah now dedicates her time to helping parents during the challenging recovery process so they can be reunited with their children. Overcoming addiction requires incredible strength and bravery, and we must make sure that resources are available to help people get the treatment they need. This year, I propose to invest $53 million to fight opioid abuse in Florida. I've also proposed legislation to prevent drug addiction on the front end, reduce the ability for dangerous drugs to spread in Florida's communities, give vulnerable Floridians the support they need, and ensure law enforcement officers have resources to protect those impacted by opioids. I ask that all of you support these measures this session so we can help Sarah in this important work so she and so many others do in our state each day. Thank you, Sarah. She's good. Yeah, she's good. I know I talk about job numbers a lot, to the point where the reporters all roll their eyes. But there are some other statistics that are pretty impressive and show great strides in our state. Since 2011, 20,000 children in foster care have been adopted. Think about that. 20,000 more kids are in homes with a loving family in just the last 7 years. One of those thousands of families is with us today. I'd like to recognize recent new mom, Erica Ford from Tallahassee. Erica is a child protective investigator with the Florida Department of Children and Families, who has also worked to help children in need by serving as a foster parent. In 2015, she was asked to foster a baby boy named Adam. She quickly fell in love with him, and when his younger brother Avery was born the next year, she also began caring for him. Erica wanted to do all she could to give them both a better life, and she made the decision to permanently open her heart and home to these children by officially adopting the two young brothers as a proud single mother. Erica, thank you for changing the lives of these precious children. Your profound actions will no doubt inspire more Floridians to adopt. I'm also proud that since 2013, I've had the opportunity to award nearly 13,000 Florida's veterans with the Governor's Veteran Service Award. And one of these recipients is here today. Let's welcome Paul Huzar. Paul is the owner of VetCorps, a restoration company in Tampa. He's also a veteran and served more than 20 years in the military. As a small business owner, Paul has seen the results of our efforts to cut taxes firsthand. He's been able to invest in his company and create more than 20 new jobs in just 5 years. His business is also one of many job creators that has worked to hire Florida veterans through the Veterans Florida Employment and Training Services Program. I'm proud that we work together to make it easier for businesses like Paul's to create jobs so more veterans have jobs to support their families. Before I close, we must also recognize the larger role Florida plays globally. Over the past few years, we've seen the conditions deteriorate drastically in Venezuela. As I've traveled the state, I've had the opportunity to hear from Floridians who are worried about the situation the Maduro regime has created in Venezuela. Make no mistake, Maduro and his gang of thugs pose a problem for Florida and the entire world, but especially for us here in Florida. Florida is home to a vibrant Venezuelan population, and many of our friends and neighbors still have family there. There's no free speech. People like Leopoldo Lopez are imprisoned or put under house arrest for fighting for democracy. There's limited access to food and medicine. The people of Venezuela deserve better. They deserve freedom. They deserve democracy. To do our part, I propose to ban state investments going to benefit the Maduro regime. Last year, the entire Florida cabinet supported this effort, and I want to thank them. Now I'm fighting for legislation that takes this important step further by blocking state agencies from doing the same. I ask all of you to join me in this fight and pass this important legislation. Now I'd like to introduce you to Sebastian Gargosian and Mariana Cortez from Miami. They desperately want to see change in Venezuela. In 2011, Sebastian escaped the crisis in Venezuela by moving to Miami, where he met his beautiful wife, Mariana. Together, they opened Bunny Cakes, a vegan bakery that employs more than 20 Floridians. Sebastian is one of the many people who had to flee their home in Venezuela for freedom and democracy. While we're proud to have him here in Florida, we must continue to stand with the people of Venezuela against the Maduro dictatorship. Sebastian and Mariana, I am going, and I know this chamber will fight to make sure Florida does everything possible to bring freedom and democracy to Venezuela. I have spent every day since taking office fighting to grow our economy and ensure we have the most prosperous state for generations to come. I am very proud of the work we have accomplished together to secure Florida's future by creating an environment where Floridians of all ages have the tools they need to succeed. But our work is not done. We must secure our future by investing record funding in our environment, our education system, and our transportation infrastructure. We must secure our future by helping those with disabilities have access to great jobs. We must secure our future by remaining and ensuring we are the most military and veteran-friendly state in the nation. And we must secure a future by making sure Florida remains the global destination for jobs. We have a finite amount of time left in these positions. Let's all fight together into our last minute in office to secure Florida's future for each and every family. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Florida.